Hey, welcome back to Building Out Loud, a weekly-ish podcast with me, Randy Silver, and
Faith Forster.
where we follow Faith's journey as she builds Discoveree from ground up. And Faith, well, we've seen each other more recently, but it's been a couple weeks since we did a formal podcast check-in. How's everything going?
Yeah, it's it's been a crazy busy few weeks, but not on Discovery, on some other things which we'll talk about in a minute. Discovery is, yeah, like it just basically just getting ready to launch. And in some ways I could have done this a lot faster. I was going to. I was about to push it live before I went away and then saw that Lovable had their data leak. And so went, ooh, this is probably not the right environment to be launching a new vibe-coded app into. But also I've been challenged on this because I've spoken at some events and they're like, when's it going live? And I'm like, soon. And they're like, you should just get it live. And I'm like, I know. But I want to make sure it works and it works properly. There is a certain level of quality that I'm used to, having worked in big products, that I feel like it's a minimum expectation I need to meet. I still need to create the help center. I still need to have a user agreement in place. It's just some basics that I feel like I have to cover off before this is properly available. But I've definitely made some progress on some things. I bought Discoveree.com because there was another Discoveree product that also talked about product intelligence. So I wanted to make sure it was really clearly about my product when I start promoting it. I've now registered the business. I've got a business bank account. I'm just going to go through and check all the LLMs and different pieces of software that we've used are ready to scale. There's just some basics, making sure we're in place so it doesn't all fall over too quickly.
Okay, so I know from when I've tried to do things on my own like this that this all seems like a very manageable punch list of things to do. But every time you start doing something, you find another thing and another thing and another thing. And the distance between you and actually launching it's as long as you want it to be, potentially. You can always find more to do. How do you prioritize? How do you decide this is enough? This is the minimum viable release candidate, I guess?
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, it's just having confidence it's going to work. Like, even I was recording a demo. As I was recording it, I was finding all these bugs. I need to stop and go back and just do a proper run through again of the product and make sure that it is doing what it's supposed to do. It's hard to define that. I just need to get to the point where I'm confident it will work once people start signing up and using it. At the moment, I'm not quite there, but not far off. It just takes a few days of dedicated focus and effort, and I think it will be there. I just haven't had those few days recently.
And what is your process for this? Is it I'm going to time box it, I'm going to give myself 3 days, and at the end of it, I'll do a review and see if there are any showstoppers? Or is it here's a list of everything I need to do? I'm putting it on my own personal Trello board or equivalent thereof and making sure everything is done. How do you approach it?
I've really used other people, like I've been chasing and following up people and then use their timelines to create a deadline for myself. I haven't got that right now because I've kind of let this slip a little bit. There are people who are preparing their organizations, preparing their documentation and making sure they've got clear goals, clear strategy to use Discovery. So I probably need to circle back with those people and just check in on where they're up to and what timeline they need. I'm giving myself this week because this is the first week since Easter I've had a full week where I can just focus on this. So I absolutely want it out this week. I do need to check in with those other people. One of the things that's become really clear to me, I'm not quite sure how to deal with this at the moment. As we all know, it's not just building the product, right? And in this environment, actually, the product is almost the easier part and it's the adoption bit that's harder. What's become really clear to me is this needs customer success support. There is a bit of a process of people to make sure that they've got all the right things understood and set up and organized for their teams to start using this. And it is really highlighting gaps in how people have been operating to date. And then just the gross marketing, I can message people, I can do it on LinkedIn, but actually it shouldn't just be coming from me. To build credibility, people need to see the brand and the product in multiple places. And so it is really highlighting to me what support I need beyond myself to make this work, which is then making me think, like, should I be trying to raise investment or not? But then I need to be able to demonstrate traction and I need some proof points, validation points to get that investment. And at this point, that should be revenue, which I'm not quite there on yet. At the moment, it feels a little bit like I'm in a catch-22. Like I'm starting to recognize all the things I need and I don't necessarily have the means to pay for them to make this successful. So I need to do what I can on my own, get the traction and then take it from there.
In the notes document I keep for this conversation every week, there's a question right at the top that says, are you charging yet? And I know the answer to it, but you just talked about revenue, not there yet. But I think, yeah, sounds like one of those things we should probably put a pin in terms of investment and hiring people and things like that. because it sounds like you've got a couple of other things you need to nail down, but something for us to absolutely come back to in the next couple of weeks and see where your head's at on that. So you mentioned you were doing a demo video and you found some things, whether they're bugs or they're just not quite working as expected. So this is something that's interesting for our solopreneurs. You're doing this, you know this software intimately. You're the person who cares, and you know exactly how it should work. You care about it. You've got about 60 some odd people who have played with it now, but they're coming in, they're trying it out. They don't know what it's supposed to do. They have different sets of expectations. So how do you handle QA and bug testing when you've got agents building everything for you? You can't trust them 100% to find everything. You can't do a full QA of everything by yourself all the time. What's the right way of doing it when you're building something without other people who are just as obsessed as you are?
It's not just that, it's also, it's so easy to change things in the product
Yeah.
when you've coded it, that it's actually, if I had to manually document everything that was in there in a help center, I would really struggle, because I've even forgotten some of the things that are in there, or like I've changed it multiple times. I can't remember how it works exactly right now. It's one of the big challenges, actually. How you document this properly for other people, but also how you keep that documentation up to date, because it will readily change. It's not a static thing. And if someone has to manually make a change to the help center documentation every time a change is made in the platform, that would be a huge overhead. There's also, like, I kind of worry a little bit about the idea of even making a help center publicly available. I've built it into my own product. You can scan other people's help centers and see how their product works.
Well, does it
Um,
have to be publicly available? Could it be behind a user login?
I'm actually thinking there's an agent that the user talks to that references the help center without necessarily the user going to the help center. I think the concept of help centers changed. I also want to try and set up, I believe there's a way to do it in Replit, so that Replit basically creates the help center for me. There are tools to do this out of GitHub. GitHub only has the code base, whereas Replit has the reasoning behind why things are working the way they do, from the way that I've had the conversations with the agent and the prompts. So I'm really hoping I can pull that out from Replit in a way that this is how it works, but within context of why. So that's one of my jobs to do this week.
And that also sounds like one of those things that gets complicated because you're asking it to keep a lot of context in mind, and there's only so much it usually does. And how do you abstract that down, or when do you not abstract it down? And yeah, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert in this, but it's definitely one of those questions I would be asking.
It feels like it could be a massive rabbit hole of complication, but let's see.
All right. So you said you're going to spend this week on it. There's something else happening this week, though. It came out of some stuff we did together last week when we actually saw each other in person. So, what is this about a new manifesto?
Yeah. So quite a few episodes ago now, actually, we talked about, I was having conversations with all these different product leaders, and the thing that struck me from those conversations was just how wildly different people's understanding was of not only the technology that AI brings, but the implications it will have. I was speaking to some people who are organizing some conferences that are coming up, and I attended ProductCon in London, as you know. I was talking to those organizers and said, like, this can't just be one person's opinion or one organization's experience. Like, this is a market shift. Like, case studies are helpful, but that's not enough. We need the new playbook on how this works. And I said, it's almost like we need the next version of the Agile Manifesto. And this was particular to Adrienne, who runs leading the product in Australia. And she was like, I love it. Yes.
Mhm.
And so I messaged a few others who I know, saying, I'm thinking about creating the next Agile Manifesto on AI. What do you think? And everyone I reached out to was like, absolutely, we need to do this. I'm in. A few people then helped me reach out to others, and we created this network of people globally and representing different disciplines, and got them together on WhatsApp, metaphorically, to create a new manifesto. So we had 42 people have contributed by responding to some provocation questions around sort of some of the fundamental shifts we're seeing and what that means for how we operate in this environment. And we have now drafted a set of core principles to guide how we think about and deliver great products. So we had the in-person session last week, and we're just trying to tidy up the principles ready to run the first workshop on them at the Australian Leading the Product Conference this week and next week. And then we've a number of other conferences and events lined up that we're going to share those at as well. Just make sure that they're really well tested and helping drive the right thinking, but also has no unintended consequences of some of the word choices and things. We've got what I hope is the blueprint for how we think about products in an AI world.
Yeah, I feel really good about it. It was robust conversations and real debate in the room. I've seen all the survey results. It's fascinating feedback. The inspirational part to me is the core principles, the core fundamental ideas of what we've learned over our careers and the types of things we espouse around build, measure, learn, and collaboration and communication and prioritization. Those don't change. How we do it changes radically. The stuff that's available to us, the way we approach it. I saw something on LinkedIn this morning that made me think about this. Is Akash Gupta was posting about, and I love Akash, he was posting about somebody replacing strategy documents with a planning.md file, just a markdown file that you put straight into Claude Code. And there's lots of reasons that's brilliant. And I think it's very strong, and it's a very specific thing. It's 4 sections. It's a problem, a hypothesis, success metrics, and a rollout plan. So very similar to the product experience document that we talked to Rags about a few weeks ago. And it's great. The issue I have with it is this replaces every other type of storytelling for strategy, because not everyone is going to live in Claude Code and in the Planning MD doc. And there's a lot of context that's not in there. And sometimes a deck or a video or a talk is the right way to get to people. And you have to repeat things and communicate them so many different ways. If you're getting a group of 5, 10, 20, 50 more people together to try and organize things around, getting them to all have their own context and really understand it, that's something that bare bones is a great touch point, but might not give them enough to tell them the why.
The headings that you just mentioned to me still sound quite tactical. Like a rollout plan is quite a specific thing.
Or maybe it wasn't a rollout plan. I'm sorry. Maybe it was more of about with the success metrics or something like that. But like I said, it looks really smart. It sounds like a great tool. And I love anytime somebody comes up with an iteration on the way things have been done before that gets rid of waste and does things better. But I think most of what we talk about is the same basic principles. And that's the kind of discussion we had in the room. There's a lot of basic things, and then there's how do you apply them, as there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of acceleration around you.
That clarity and context is one of the principles it talks to that. We've always known that's important, but we haven't been particularly good at it. Pick any organization and there will be a strategy document somewhere, and it would have been shared in a team meeting of some description. But if you ask any of the team members, they probably can't tell you what it is. And if you ask a number of the leaders or executives even, they'd probably give you a slightly different interpretation.
What I see at a lot of places that I've worked with over the years is it's not actually a strategy, it's an aspiration. It's we want to get to this, we have this goal that's in a spreadsheet. It's a number usually. It's around an ARR or a specific revenue or growth target, something like that. But it doesn't have the critical part of, and this is how we hypothesize that we're going to get there. So that you don't have everybody in the company able to collaborate and make prioritization decisions together to say, no, that's not the right way of us doing this right now. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just that's not what we're focusing on now.
This may change because we haven't quite finalized them. In that principle, we talked about clarity and context. We actually call out that we need to be clear on what we're focusing on, what trade-offs we can make, and also what we're not doing. Often you've got something that's pretty good at telling you what we're focusing on, not so good at helping make trade-off decisions, which is what gives you agility in the real sense, in people actually making decisions day to day and not needing to take those up to senior people. But also the choices around what not to do, we're generally not very good at. Having enough clarity that people can use that as a reference point in their day-to-day work, and agents now as well, is more critical, I think, because everything's accelerating. And so it's not just the ability to do the work faster that matters, it's actually being able to make decisions and make good decisions. That requires people to work together, to have alignment, to have clarity and direction.
So what we did is we got everyone together. We did a survey of people, got a lot of responses. We did a synthesis of that. We got a bunch of people in a room together to try and whittle it down. This is very much considered to be a draft version of a manifesto. So the plan is take it to leading the product, let them play with it and give us some feedback. We're going to be in Lisbon together in June for Productize with this. We may be at other conferences with this, but it's also going to be, by the time you hear this, it'll be public on a website. We do want feedback. What is the URL again? It's
makersmanifesto.org. So we will also have a LinkedIn profile for this. What we want to do is hear people's stories around how they're actually applying these principles and gather case studies. So we will publish some case studies on the website. We'd also love people to share their case studies through the LinkedIn profile as well and really bring to life. This is purposely not a framework or a methodology because there are so many ways this can be done. We're not necessarily trying to get everyone to do it one way. We're trying to show the breadth and the richness of the different ways it can be applied. The thing I like about the way the principles are shaping up is it covers the different dimensions or different considerations that collectively help make us far more effective when we're moving fast and delivering quickly. It's a really nice set of ingredients to make great products, to be successful, which is, I think, what's really missing at the moment is that clarity for people around what changes and what stays the same. I think this does a really great job of covering both those things.
fantastic. So this week you are focusing on finishing off everything on Discoveree and getting it ready for launch. So next time I see you online, we're going to be asking the same question. Are you charging? Are you launched? And we'll have the feedback from the first round of what's happened in Australia, which will be very exciting. We'll catch up with you again next week about this.